Unmasking the Covered Me podcast. UTCM was birthed from me realizing that there is a greater me on the inside of me. The phrase, there's a greater you on the inside of you, means being above normal, understanding your worth, and being confident in knowing who you are. But the first person who has to realize that there's a greater you on the inside of you is you. In life, we all go through stages of the good, the bad, and the ugly, which leads us to our purpose and promise. UTCM is a platform where you get to share your story and your truth of unmasking moments that allows you to embrace all stages in your life. UTCM looks forward to many people being able to unmask, uncover, and unveil themselves on the podcast. Thank you for watching and joining us.
And we are live. Hey, we here. Yes, you better give me a shimmy, Pastor Lavelle. Yes, we are here. We are live. The moment, the month is finally here. Can you believe it?
No.
She in shock, y'all. She in shock. I am so excited to have Pastor Lavelle, my pastor, my mentor. Just an amazing woman of God. I'm just so thankful and grateful, for her willingness to come on and unmask herself. Again, this is not easy by far at all. Unmasking yourself. I say it all the time, it's a process. And it's not an easy process, but it's a necessary process. So I want to thank you again for just guiding me through, even this whole journey. So let me tell y'all a little story. Right. So Pastor Lavelle has been a part of this process of me starting, it being a thought and me actually going forth and, bringing forth the podcast, right? Like doing it and everything, helping me with my questionnaire, really holding me accountable to answering my own questionnaire. We have our bi-weekly talks. So she has definitely been, a rock, for me during this process. So I want to thank you very much, for being my last guest of the year and the season 1. This is it. This is great. It's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to be here. It's a little emotional. It's so many emotions. But I'm just so thankful and grateful for all my guests, that has come on to unmask themselves. So without further ado, I would like Pastor Lavelle, I would like you to kind of brag about yourself a little bit, right? Like tell us, who Pastor Lavelle is, right? We share, a lot of friends, right? But maybe there's some people that, that are my friends that maybe don't know you, right? So I want you to brag about yourself a little bit.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me as a guest. I want to say congratulations to you for birthing Unmasking the Covered Me. Kudos to you for sticking to the plan, for carrying it out. Each and every segment, each and every podcast was phenomenal. And so I applaud you for doing a job well done in having the vision, birthing it out, and then carrying it through to the very end. So I want to say congratulations to you publicly, and I'm very proud of you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Who is Lavelle? Let's see. Who is Pastor Lavelle Cook? Pastor Lavelle Cook is a mother. She's a wife. She's a sister. She is therapist, a marriage and family therapist. She is a pastor. A consistent, loyal person, no nonsense. I love people, and I love God above all else.
Yes, she does. Yes, he's always at the center of everything she do. And I thank you because I begin to learn how to make sure that that's what I'm doing too as well. Right, especially in this season of my life, just always making sure that God is in the center of any and everything that I do. I can't do nothing without Him. So I thank you for that too. That nugget that you dropped on me too as well. I appreciate that. So that little laugh. um, right. So now I told y'all, right? Pastor Lavelle is the one who helped me with my questionnaire, right? So Pastor Lavelle, I want you to just tell me, how did you feel about answering this questionnaire? What was your thought process?
Okay. To be totally honest and transparent, when I got the questionnaire, I was questioning, why did Nyesha send me the questionnaire? And so, and I think I either called her or texted her, and she said, Pastor Lavelle, because you're going to be my guest. And I was like, what? And so I was very surprised. And then when I took me a minute to actually sit down with the questionnaire, I wanted to do it when I had time. So when I sat down with it, I really felt like, wow, these some good questions. Like we came up with all of this. Like, and it was very thought provoking. And I wanted to be open and I wanted to be honest. I wanted to be transparent, because it wasn't just about me, but it's about every guest that has been on the podcast has helped so many people. And so my story, I pray, will help somebody else as well. So with that, I just answered the questions. At first, I was trying to be cute, and just kind of dance around a little bit and just say a few things here, a few things there. And then God was like, no, tell it all.
Yeah.
And so I believe I was very open and honest and very transparent.
You definitely were. You definitely were. Let me tell y'all, right? So if you've been watching the podcast from the beginning, Gianna Cook, who was my very first guest in January, I always call her LJ. She's Lavelle Jr., right? I feel like, she is just the clone of her mother, right? So when she sent me her questionnaire, I'm talking about, y'all, she answered the questions, okay? I didn't think Pastor Lavelle the questionnaire was going to be similar. Let me tell y'all something. When God told her to tell it all, she told it all, okay? She not coming to play. So I appreciate you just being open and, and it's just being out here and being ready to share your truth, right? Because your story is your truth, right? And can no one take that from you. So I'm thankful that you was obedient, right? To just saying, you know what? It is what it is. I'm out here and I'm ready. I ain't got nothing to hide. I'm open. I'm unmasking for real, for real. Hey everybody, thank y'all so much for coming on. Again, I always appreciate all the love, all the support that everyone has shown me throughout the year. I really appreciate all y'all. I love y'all, love y'all, love y'all. Thank y'all. All right, so we going dive right on in. Right, so I did ask you to kind of brag about yourself a little bit, and you did mention when I say describe who you are in 3 sentences. So you gave me a bonus sentence, right? When you just bragged about yourself, you mentioned that you are a pastor, you are a marriage and family therapist, an author, and a certified life coach, right? So I kind of, because this question has been going around a little bit, I think like on Instagram or somewhere I saw it, right? And people were kind of like talking about like, what's the difference between a therapist and a life coach, right? So because you hold both titles, right? Can you talk a little bit about what the difference is between a life coach and a therapist?
Well, for education, that's one. The education of a life coach and a therapist, that's very different. But a therapist is someone that's going to help you depending on their discipline. They are going to help you resolve issues from your past or your present, and it's going to take you more through it's more long term. So it's going to help you work through some emotional experiences, some traumas to get you to a healthy place mentally, emotionally. Life coaches, for the most part, are helping you steer your life. Like if I want to say I want to be an architect, a life coach is going to tell you the necessary steps to take to get to that place. They are not so much, and it depends. Every life coach is different, and they have different ways of doing things. But most life coaches is trying to get your life in order in terms of more naturally opposed to emotionally. That's, for me, that would be my understanding from what I've learned in my training. A life coach is someone that's going to help you get to a certain space and where you want to be, more to your purpose, to your destiny, and stuff like that, opposed to a therapist is here to kind of help you out emotionally, mentally, psychologically.
Hmm. That's good. I like that. That's good. Good to know. I was just that was just it was interesting to me. I mean, like I said, I heard someone mention it. Like like did a poll or something like that. So I wanted to kind of get your take because since you hold both of those titles. So did you picture yourself even being a therapist? Like, what came about being a therapist and right now, like you're in school right now and everything, you're getting ready to be Dr. Lavelle Cook.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know that's right. I know that's right. So did you always see yourself as being a therapist?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Um, I think that started later in life for me. I grew up wanting to be a nurse, an actress, and a dancer. And I think at some point I realized I couldn't do all three of those. So then I chose a nurse, and I am formally in the medical field. So I started with that first. And then when I got called to be a minister, or I always reflected on the fact that people always told me their problems from a little kid. I mean, always old ladies, old people always talk to me, sit me down, strangers on the train, on the bus. And so when I decided to, when God called me into ministry, and the question was, do I go to seminary or do I just go to school to be a therapist? And God, every time I went to think about seminary, that just wasn't my route. And God let me know that I was called to be a counselor, a therapist, Christian counselor. But I see all people, not just Christians. And so for me, the moment I enrolled in a Christian school, went to a Christian grad school, and it was very evident when I got there that that's definitely where God called me to be. And so, because I have a love for people that's like no other. And so I just think it's definitely God ordained for me to be a therapist. And I'm
Yeah,
that I heard the call and I accepted.
I know that's right. Gigi says she gives great advice to y'all. Listen, let me tell y'all, you in good hands. So reach out to Pastor Livy. I'm gonna put her name and everything is in the chat too as well. So if you need a good therapist, make sure you reach out to her. She is your girl. She's your girl. She's your woman. She's your woman. So I'm like, okay, hold up. Now I didn't know Pastor Lavelle for at least, I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna say at least 4 years, right? And this year has been the year that we have gotten the closest, right? I know a little bit more. At least I thought I do, right? You know how you feel like you think you know somebody, but you really don't know all about them. And I'm reading this. I'm like, well, who knew she went to Florida? Who knew you lived in Florida? I never even knew you lived in Florida. I never knew you left knew you to leave to live in Florida. I'm like, well, how did I know that? And I'm like, wow, I'm just reading the questionnaire and
Mhm.
your responses and all that stuff. I'm just like, wow. Right. So I do want to kind of, dive in with regarding the question, right? Like, what was your first step, in uncovering the hidden you, right? And you said it was like later in your teenage years, your early 20s, right? And after, numerous of bad relationships, right? Can you talk about, some of those bad relationships? And when in that moment when you finally said, you know what, no more, I'm loving me more, I'm loving, this is it. Like, what did that moment kind of look like for you?
Wow. It wasn't a pretty sight. I think I wrote that on the paper. It wasn't a pretty sight. But I realized in my late teenage years and my early 20s that, I had low self-esteem. I wasn't very confident. I was a people pleaser. You know, I did whatever it took to make people happy. And it didn't even matter whether I was happy or not, just looking for that approval, that validation, if you will. And I had mommy issues, I had daddy issues. And so I was looking for love in all the wrong places.
Mm.
Um, and so it was like one bad relationship after the other. The one that was significant that began the start of me unmasking was I had my oldest daughter, 32, and as her father and I was together for like 7 years, and we were actually engaged to be married, and we lived in New York because I'm originally from New York, and basically he broke up with me after me planning a wedding, and he broke up and said he didn't want to get married. He was very much commitment phobic. Long story
Mm.
short, we did break up, and then he moved to Florida where he had a sister living, and then maybe a couple of months in, he called and said he was sorry. Let's get back together. We can start afresh in Florida. I said, okay, no problem. I loved him. Nothing was really keeping me here. My family was just kind of all over the place. So I moved to Florida. Important, just so we could have put a pin right there. It's important as women that we listen to our red flags. Listen to the red flags. Pay attention to the alarms. The day in the airport that I arrived, the day. Now, of course, hindsight is 2020, but the day I arrived in the airport and the way he greeted me and the way he greeted our daughter, I understood clear at that moment an alarm went off because it became
Mm.
that he really necessarily didn't want me per se. He wanted to be with his daughter. And so, but I dismissed it thinking, okay, I'm overthinking it. So we was together in Florida, maybe a year, 2.5 years. He was cheating on me. He became verbally abusive. And I just decided I no more. There's got to be more. There's got to be better. And that began the beginning of me unmasking.
Mm.
You know,
You said a lot, right? So I want to kind of go back
sure.
to something that you mentioned, right, with the daddy and the mommy issues.
Hmm.
Right. So I want to go back to, because we always talk about daddy issues, right? Like that's very known. Like a lot of people, you know, have experienced those daddy issues.
Right.
Right? We're more open to talking about daddy issues, but we don't really talk about mommy issues,
Mhm.
right? We don't really talk about, the things that we have experienced, with our mothers,
Right.
right? From them being hurt, right, to then carrying it over to us, So kind of just talk to me about, your mommy issues that you did have. And was that a part of the reason why, you felt like you were in those bad relationships because of those mommy issues?
Okay, so to answer the first part of your question about the mommy issues, basically, I the mommy issues were because I knew my mother always loved me. That was always evident that she loved me. She expressed herself in loving me, but because of her own past and the way she grew up and different hurts, her own hurts and pains,
Mhm.
hurt people, right? So
Yes.
because of her own hurts and pains, she self-medicated. So she self-medicated by using different substances, and so therefore it clouded her ability to parent the way that she probably would have or could have had she not been dependent on some substance.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, there were different things that was just said that were not nice. Even though just different, she was always there. She was a single parent, so she raised my brother and I to the best of her ability, and I'm very appreciative of that. However, it was just that my mom had me at 19. She got married at 16 and had my brother at 16. So therefore, we grew up together. So it almost at times felt just like that we
Yeah.
grew up together.
Mhm.
So that's why there was the mommy issues. As far as why I had the bad relationships, I wouldn't attribute that to so much my mommy issues. I
Okay.
would attribute that more to my daddy issues
Mm.
as I was looking for daddy. I started out dating older men. So I've always dated men who were much older than I was. My daughter's father, is not. He was 9 years older than I was, and so I was always dating men that was much much older than I was because I realized in hindsight that I was searching for daddy. I was looking for that
Mm,
love that I didn't receive from my father, even though he was in the picture on and off very sporadically. He was an alcoholic. Um, and he would come around from time to time, whether it was sober, whether it was drunk, but he came around here and there, but as God would have it, when I got older, I was able to make amends and peace with both my parents, which that was a blessing for me. My mom and I to this day we're very good friends. We're like best friends. We have a great relationship. She's been clean and sober for 20 plus years, so I thank God for that. My father is deceased. However, before he passed away, he walked me down the aisle 22 years ago, and I was able to take care of him the last few years of his life. So I thank God for that restoration of those
yeah,
relationships because that was important to me.
yeah. I think it is very important, right? And you mentioned something in the questionnaire, because you weren't able to have a conversation with your father,
Right.
right? You actually sent him a letter,
Yes.
um, right? And as I was reading that, I'm like, wow, I wonder what was like what were your emotions when you were writing that letter? Do you remember that
Yes,
moment?
I remember. I was very sad. I was hurt. There were lots and lots of tears because I felt like for the first time I was able to express that. And even though it was on paper, it still, all those emotions came out of me on paper. And in all fairness, I didn't just confront him, and I probably put that on my paper too, that I actually met with my mom in person. And so that was like one of the hardest things for me to do was to tell her how she hurt me growing up as a child in that kind of environment and how I felt from that.
Yeah.
So those emotions were very big. So between confronting them directly through the letter in person, I was also in therapy also to help me be better emotionally because I also thought that that's another reason why I wasn't having lasting good relationships because I was holding on to unforgiveness.
Yeah. Yeah. That was same with me, with my mother too as well. And I can say now in this season, like I was expressing to you last night when we had the conversation, I do understand a little bit better now, kind of why we had to go through what we went through, but it hurt. The things that was said to me, the things that I had to see, it hurt. And it's not a good feeling, right? And it is very uncomfortable to have to, sit down and actually express, yourself. And then sometimes you're so full of emotions, you don't even know how to express yourself. My thing is, I just had to start. I just had to start somewhere, and this platform allowed me to be more confident in being able to say, you know what, I could take off the mask. I can be a little bit uncomfortable, and I gotta let it, I gotta be free. I gotta be free for me, because if I don't say what I need
Mhm.
to say, to my mother, to my father, I'm gonna continue to hold on to that, and then it just bleeds over into my marriage. It bleeds over into me being a mother, right, and all that good stuff. So I definitely can, you gotta forgive for you. That's most important, most important. I want to go back to something else too as well, because you mentioned, I remember it was something about verbal abuse. You said
Yes.
that the oldest daughter's father was
Mhm.
verbally abusive. I mean, any
Yes.
abuse is not good, but I just feel
Mhm.
like verbal is just like, it's like it's horrible because it sticks with you. Like, you know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? Like you're constantly thinking about, what was said, or, am I really like that? Is that true? So
Mhm.
that touched me too as well, because like I said, some things, with my mother and what she would say, it stuck with me, and it's like,
Mhm.
I had to undo. So this whole unmasking process, I had to undo what was said. Right. And that's not easy, and it's tough, and it's hard, and it gets very ugly, emotionally. So yeah. Wow.
Can I just speak to that? Can I just speak to that? Because I think that sometimes we concentrate a lot on people who are physically abused, and,
Yeah.
and we should, right? We should.
Hmm.
But the difference between someone who's verbally abused or emotionally abused than someone who is physically abused is that those wounds that they inflicted, the scars, all of that, those things are going to heal over a certain period of time. Emotional and verbal wounds can take a lifetime to heal, and
Yeah.
sometimes never. And because what happens is, because he was verbally abusive and said certain things that just tore down my self-esteem as a woman, that there's certain things that when I got married, if my husband said something or did something any remotely kind of way, I was like, it was a trigger. Certain things, it could have been a trigger for me. And so even then, having to continue to unmask to get healed from those different things. So the verbal, the emotional abuse can be very lasting. And that's why it's so good to be able to get help by therapists and to manage your emotions.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because and I know I've heard it, a lot, especially like growing up, like, you don't need no therapist, they can't help you. They just gonna be in your business. Don't nobody know you better than you. That's the problem. That's why you're struggling, right? Because you think that you can help you when you can't. There is someone out there, and I always tell people too as well. Even if the first one doesn't work, keep going. Find you another therapist, because
Absolutely.
therapy is hands down, it has blessed me in many ways. So, and I know you are also, you're a therapist, but you're also in therapy too, right? The therapist needs a
Absolutely.
therapist.
Absolutely. 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 That's important, because if I'm always listening to other people's problems, then where do I take them? I can't internalize them. So I would need to be able to give that to somebody else as well. And so for me, listen, and you have to find one that's a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Everyone is not a good fit. So once you find one that's a good fit, you stick to it. You stick to
Yeah.
it, and you have to be honest. You have to be honest, and you have to be transparent. Therapy only works unless you're honest.
I'm telling you, I was talking to somebody, I can't remember who I was talking to, and they was like, well, I know how to fool my therapist. And I said, but do you understand what you're saying? You're not fooling, they're getting paid. So you're not fooling them. You're
Right.
actually doing more of a disservice to yourself, right? Then, because what's the point? What are you paying your copay for? You know what I'm saying? I mean, because they're getting paid, they're fine. They're doing what they need to do. They're holding up their end of the bargain. This is you. This is for you. So
Mm.
why waste your time? If you're not going to be open and honest, right? Because that's the only way, like you said, that it will work if you are. Because I did therapy before, and I was not open and honest, and it didn't work. I'm still walking around feeling the same way, and I'm like, well, what's going on? Because you're not being honest, Nyesha. Just be honest. So the second time around, oh yeah, I was ready. Yeah, it's time. I don't have time to not be honest, right? So I want to talk about forgiveness. That's a big one. That's a big one.
What about it?
Look, Pastor Lavelle, hashtag DMX Rough Riders is ready, okay? Um, that's the insider. That's the insider, y'all. That's the insider.
Yeah, inside.
It's the insider. Yeah, so forgiveness. I want to talk a little bit about forgiveness because, woo, you talked a lot about forgiveness. Hold on one second. I'm like, I got so much going on over here.
I can start.
No,
Um,
here, I got it right here, right?
okay.
So you wrote something that I want to talk about, right?
Okay.
So I did say, what is your definition of forgiveness, right? That's the question. And a part of it was you wrote, forgiveness is loving people despite what they do to you, right? So this is something that I'm still working on too as well. So I kind of wanted you to talk about, your process of, forgiving people and loving people, in spite of, right, what they do. What does that look like for Lavelle Cook?
For me, it looks like, because I believe that God has, I know, not believe, I know that God has forgiven me for all of the things that I've done and do wrong. That there's no perfect person except Jesus Christ. And so for me, when someone has done me wrong, I look beyond what they have done and look at their heart to know that if they did it with malice or ill intention, and know that God requires us to love. And so that I say, okay, God, forgive them. Well, they know not what they do, right? So,
Yeah.
and I choose to love them in spite of what they've done to me. Because like the word says, love does cover a multitude of sin. And
Yeah.
so therefore, God commands us to love. So I may not necessarily feel I have to have a full blown restored relationship ongoing with that person, but I still love that person.
Yeah.
My parents in particular, they're my parents. God used them to get me in the earth. There was my transportation to earth. And I know that they helped me. They loved me for where they were in their lives. They were young, 16 and 19 when they got married. So I'm going to love them. I forgave them for what they did, what they didn't do, because they're my parents, they're my mother and father, and I will always love them. Other people, bad relationships. It's like, listen, it was what it was. At my age now, I'm 56 years old. I look at it and think about where God has me, and I say, well, obviously, God used those things to get me to where I am today. And so, if that's what He had to use, then so be it. So, I like to just, okay, it may be painful, it may hurt, but I choose to forgive others and to release them. And the bigger part is I'm releasing myself. Because when I'm holding on to when we don't forgive people, we're making ourselves sick. We're holding on to stuff. It's a stronghold on us, not them. They're going on about their business. But we're the ones that we're tight, we're uptight, we got hypertension, we got diabetes, we got all these illnesses because we're holding on to unforgiveness. So I choose to forgive. My mom has this saying that she says, let's get back to the love. So,
Mhm.
if things happen in life, we apologize and keep it moving and
Yeah.
forgive.
Yeah. And that's good too. And somebody else, I think it was the last month podcast, Deja and myself, we're saying too as well, just because you have forgiven someone too doesn't necessarily mean that they, have to hold the same place. Right, you're just forgiving them, for you, right? And then releasing it, and then being okay, right, with, maybe the relationship won't be the same. And that's okay if the relationship is not the same, right? It's either, you guys have moved forward or that chapter is done, and it's okay. So yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I just feel I'm just looking at you and I'm just like, I really want to ask you this question. So the last two podcasts, I haven't asked this question, but it was a big question, in the beginning of my season, in the first the a couple of episodes, in the beginning of the of me doing the podcast. So I want to ask you, in this moment, what would you say to younger Lavelle?
Mm. Woo. Wow. Wow. Seems like that's a loaded question. Um, I would say to myself, don't be so hard on yourself. I would say you are going to make it. I would say, um, don't think everything's always your fault. I internalized a lot as a child, thinking that my parents not being together was my fault. Thinking because they were the way that they were was my fault. thinking that because I had a childhood illness, I had scoliosis with 12 with curvature of the spine, thinking that no one would ever love me. I'd never get married. I'd never have this. I'd never have that. I'd never have children. And so my worship of the Lord today, of God, is for real because
Yeah.
I know where He's brought me from. So I would say to my younger self, keep your head up.
Yeah.
Keep
That's
your
good. That's good. Keep your head up. I love it. Somebody put hashtag keep your head up. Hashtag keep your head up in the chat, please. Yes, that's a good one. Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm just a little speechless, and I'm a little like, oh wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I want to talk about your hashtag. That
Okay.
that hashtag was, I mean, this is, I feel like you have always, said this since I've met you.
Okay.
Do you remember what your hashtag was?
I do. My
Okay, so
hashtag is my hashtag is I am Lavelle unapologetically.
I know that's right. I
Um,
know that's right.
and
Talk
that
talk about that a little bit. What was the thought, your thoughts of, because that's your saying all the, like, I hear
yeah.
you say it all the time, right?
Um,
So yeah, talk about,
I say that because, as I stated earlier, is that I was a people pleaser.
yeah,
So a lot of times I did lots of things to please everybody else. I wanted to get good grades, so my mother would give me the accolades. I wanted to, impress people. I wanted to do this, do that to make everyone else happy, right? And I've always felt like I had to fit in a certain mold. If I did something, I was the goody two shoes, the goody two shoes that I did nothing wrong. I was the good kid, right? Always got A's and strived to be the best in everything I ever did. I'm an overachiever, right? So therefore, that when if I did do something that was out of pocket, out of line, it was like, oh my God, the earth stopped, right? So my brother could have done the same thing that I did, but he would just get like a little, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. I did it, the earth stopped, right? So when I got to this unmasking phase of my life and I began to really discover who Lavelle really was, who is this chick, right? Who is she for real? I realized that I'm not going back. I
hmm,
am who I am unapologetically. I'm not here to please nobody but God. Yes, do I want to be liked? We all want to be liked to a certain degree. But if you don't, oh well, I'm okay with that. I'm living in a season of the hardest season in my entire life currently.
mm,
But I trust God. And so I could smile in it. I could joy through it. It ain't always sunshine. But guess what? I trust that God, He has the plan and that everything is in divine order. And so I'm good. So I'm me unapologetically. I feel like I've had to be everything to so many different people. They have me, how people pin you to be a certain way.
yeah,
And so therefore I'm who I am, and I'm not necessarily, I may not fit your descript. And guess what? I may not be everyone's cup of tea. And I'm okay with that too.
yeah.
Okay with that.
Yeah, she definitely means that, y'all. I mean, you saw the posture, and I'm okay with that. I may not be your cup of tea, and I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
That, just to have that boldness, right? Because my thing was always growing up, I always just, want everything to be okay, right? Like, I don't want any issues. I don't want, me too, the people pleaser, right? Like, I just want everybody to be happy. I want everything to be peaceful. But that's not reality. It's not reality. Things are going to happen. Things are going to come up. You're going to have uncomfortable conversations. People are not going to like what you say. You're not going to like what people say. It's a part of life. Right. So I'm still learning, too, to this day. Like, I literally have to say, okay, I got to pause in this moment.
Mhm.
Is this, am I being a people pleaser right now? Or am I doing what, what I'm saying, I need to be doing? So yeah.
Yeah, to
Yes.
add to that, I want to say that I think another thing that kind of helped me with having that attitude of being Lavelle unapologetic, because I realized that so many people were so free in telling me how they felt. just be up in my face and just telling me, just giving me the business, right? They had no issue with telling me how they felt about me or what I was doing wrong. They had no areas in feeling free in saying that to me. And I felt, here it is. I'm trying to, be nice. I'm trying to be like, oh no, I don't want to say this. Oh no, not that. Oh no, not this. But then it was like, well, they not doing that for me. Like, why should I? And I'm good with being. I have great decorum, so you will never catch me stooping to somebody else's level when you start acting just kind of just plain ignorant. That's not me. I'm not stooping to your level. However, I'm going to give you exactly what I feel and think in a very nice way. And sometimes, and maybe a not so nice way. But I don't have to use explicitives.
Right. Well, I didn't get there yet. Sorry, y'all. I still use explicits. As in Pastor Lavelle voice. She said it's so edifying, right? I love the posture. It's the posture for me. Okay. I love it. I love it. This is just so amazing. Man, I'm like on cloud 9 right now. Like I feel like I'm on like this, like I'm literally like on this natural like high of like I just can't believe that I did a whole year of podcast. Like I'm just like, wow. Wow, it's so amazing. Oh my God. So let's talk about your we talked last night, because I always talk to my guests before the night before the podcast, but it was also, our conversation night too as well. So we did kind of everything all in one. Right. So I don't know how we got on the subject, but we had ended up talking about like the last question that I put on a questionnaire, to ask like if you have like, anything like up and coming that you want to, talk about on a podcast or whatever the case may be. And at first you said that you weren't gonna put anything, right?
That's correct.
So now that you did put something, I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so initially, you just out me out, Nyesha.
We out here. We out here.
We out here. So initially, I didn't put anything at first. And then God reminded me about my own book, autobiography that I started many, 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 many years ago. And it's called One Woman's Journey from Fear to Faith. And some people watching have heard of it before, heard me mention it before, and they're probably saying, she ain't finished that book yet. Well, because writing is a process and because it is my life, at times I had to stop and pause because it was kind of emotional to put it all on paper, and so I am going to get back to it and to get it done because I do think it's necessary because it's my story and it's my truth, and I believe it will help somebody else be better.
Amen.
So that's my project that I'm working on, besides also completing my doctorate degree. So hopefully next year by this time, I will be Dr. Lavelle Cook. So
yes,
very proud of that. Very proud of that.
I know that's right. She's such an inspiration, y'all. I'm telling you, she is true inspiration. And I just love all the pastors at my church, all the leadership at my church, hands down, great leadership. I mean, couldn't ask for better leadership, for real. And, I heard it before, but when when you amongst good leadership, that's good. Appreciate it, for real. So it's amazing. It is so amazing. I wanted you, because you did mention something, so I want to go back. I want to backtrack a little bit. You mentioned that you are you're in a, I don't know I forgot the verbiage that you use regarding the season that you're in. You're in a tough season of your life. So I kind of wanted you to just talk about, on one of those days where, because you are in a tough season, right? When you kind of just, you want to throw in the towel, but you know that you can't throw in the towel. What does that look like for you? What's your process What do you do?
Um, Pray. I love to pray. Praying is my lifestyle. It's not just what I do. Prayer
Yeah.
is my lifestyle. And my relationship with God is first and foremost. I stated that I'm in a rough season of my life,
Yeah.
because I do believe that I'm in a real good preparation phase that God is taking me through. And so on my worst days, I'm in a very prayer mode. I'm kind of in a sort of a, I don't like to, I wouldn't say depressed would not be the word that I would use, but I'm very low key. I'm very low key. I'm listening to hear God. And I am reading His Word. I'm praying. I'm reaching out to people who are there for me, my family, my friends, who um, uh, uh, have encouraged me over the years. So my sound counsel, those who helped me, my pastor, um, my husband is been a great support system, and so therefore, and I talk about it, what I'm feeling, and so, and that gets me. And also, what keeps me from giving up is knowing that it's not over, knowing that I'm out here, knowing that I am headed towards purpose, knowing
Yeah.
that God has the plan, knowing that I already have the victory, right? So that I keep pressing towards the mark of the high calling, which is in Christ Jesus. So even on those days when I want to give up, real talk, I may have a pity pat party for a moment or two. I'm being honest, right? And I'm
Yeah.
gonna just be like, listen, I listen, God, what's up? Like,
Right.
well, this is, I know I'm going somewhere. But so you have to, like, right about now, it's getting a little hectic, you know. And crying is therapeutic. It's cleansing, you
Yeah.
know. And sometimes you just need that good ugly cry. Listen,
Snot. The snot nose
you
too.
need all of that to help you get through. And so for me, giving up is not an option for me. I don't care how hard it gets. I'm pressing towards. I'm going
Yeah.
forward because I already won. I already have the victory. So it's all good. It'll go. I'll take those who suffer with God will reign with Him.
Yeah.
We can't say that we believe and we know that we're not going to go through anything. So, those who love God shall suffer persecution. And so therefore it's all part of the process.
All part of the process.
All
Absolutely.
part of the process.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about, because you mentioned too as well that it's so this is what you wrote. It is okay to rewrite your narrative and reinvent yourself as long as it lines up with who God says you are.
Yes.
Right? So, with you saying how, like, and I think we talked about this too last night, like even when you're going through something, like it's okay to not be okay. Right? That doesn't change anything. Right? It doesn't change of who you are, who God has called you to be, where you're going in life, what you're doing, right? It doesn't change anything. It just means that you're in a tight spot right now,
Right.
and it's okay for you to sit in that tight spot and be okay with sitting in that tight spot. But the
Absolutely.
thing is, just don't stay there,
Right.
right? We
Mhm.
got to we got to keep it moving.
Yep.
Period. Right? That was our word last night. Period. Period.
Listen, it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to say I'm not okay. I think that we as people, and especially Christians, we get this idea that we have to be perfect. We get this idea that we've got to be, how are you? I'm blessed and highly favored. Are you really?
Right.
Are you blessed and highly favored all the time? We are all blessed and highly favored, but do we really feel blessed and highly favored all the time? So it's okay. I love the space that I am in because the people that God has called me to serve allows me to be me on a good day, on a bad day, on any day.
Yeah.
My friends, my sister friends, they accept me for who I am. And
Yeah.
that's a good thing. But I chose to, when I discovered an unmasking, I decided, okay, God, you have this plan for my life, but what kind of woman of God am I to be? Right? And so I rewrote my narrative. No, I'm not going to be the statistic that the world says I'm going to be.
Right.
I'm going to, the doctors may have said, oh, because I had back surgery at age 12 that I couldn't have kids. Well, I had 3 kids, 3 beautiful, successful kids. So I'm grateful to God. So I rewrote my narrative and I'm rewriting my story. So it won't end the way the world say it's going to end. It's going to end the way that God says it's going to end.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Oh wow. Somebody just said something too in the chat. Shakira, she said, reinvent yourself. I always say that. I always say this. Don't get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You said that to me last night too as well. Like if you're comfortable, then you probably need to be doing something more, right? Because when you are doing things that that you don't necessarily want to do, it's definitely uncomfortable. It is not easy by far, so even for us sitting up here, I've been doing this for a whole year now, and still and still and still let's be transparent, okay? And still, I get uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable because I'm like, I told you last night, I'm like, that's what I feel like as soon as it goes live, I have diarrhea of the mouth. I'm like, bleh. I'm like just saying everything, right? But the thing is, like after I finish, I'm like, oh, I could breathe. Like it was like another layer, peeled back. Right, allowing me to just be able to just be open and just be honest. That word is just so powerful, honest, right? I never really acknowledged that word until this year, really, like that's how I'm able to be where I am and to continue to go where I'm going. It's just by being honest. Nope, I don't have all the answers. Nope, I don't know this. Nope, I don't know how to do that. Nope, I ain't got the scripture on this one. Nope, I don't know how to pray about this. Like, it's okay. It's okay.
It really is okay. Even I told you last night, I said, I'm nervous, and I think, I stand in front of people all the time. I preach, I teach, I've been at many retreats, all this, but it was something about today, unmasking the covered me, that I said to you last night. This is my first time publicly telling my story, my truth. People may have heard bits and pieces here and there, but this was the full, unadulterated version of who Lavelle Cook is, unapologetically. This is my story. This is my truth. So even in that, I believe that this has been great. It's been good to do this, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, I'm happy to have you. I'm thankful, again, for your willingness. This is not easy at all, by far. So for you to experience all that you have experienced and then be able to sit with that posture of knowing of who you are, being confident in who you are, loving you first and foremost, it's just a beautiful thing, to see. And I hope it gives someone hope to know that that you can go through things, but you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. All is well. All is well. But you got to do the work. You got to do the work.
Gotta do the work.
Got to put that one foot in front of the other. You got to do it. You got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do it. So I am.
Yeah. Can I
told you. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to share in the process of unmasking the covered me. I thought you were going to ask me about this, and helping myself get to that better space, and my self-esteem was not prayer. And I prayed, and also read a lot of self-help books, read the word, but I also had self-affirmations posted in my home. So I was single before I was married. So after relationship with my daughter's father, I had self-affirmations that were scripturally based, in my closet, in my bathroom mirror, and on my refrigerator. And I read them every day, several times a day if necessary. And I read them until I believed them.
Yes.
I believe that I can do all things through Jesus Christ who's to me. But I believe that I was the head and not the tail. So all those different things and those are important to help us to get to where we need to be in God. And so that was all part of that process to help me be where I am. Some people might say, oh, she's conceited, or she's full of herself. It has nothing to do with that. Again, I'm Lavelle unapologetically. So
Yeah,
that may be what you may think, but you don't know who I am.
right. But that's a part of the doing the work,
Doing,
right? That,
doing the work.
those affirmations. Affirmations are very important.
Yeah.
Even with, writing out scriptures
Mhm.
too as well, and putting them on post-its and putting them up, anywhere and everywhere that you see them, when you walk through. So then you can then begin to allow it to really penetrate your heart. Right.
Absolutely.
So then you can begin to believe it. Because you spoke about those insecurities,
Mhm.
right? And being insecure. And that was my thing is when I first met you, you always just had this posture. So I would have never thought in a million years that, you know what I'm saying, that you were insecure. But like I said, you think you know somebody until you know what I'm saying, until you really get to know them. Right. And then you have no idea. You think you know me, but you have no idea. So I'm like, Past Lavelle with insecurity? No, absolutely not. Like even when we talked before too as well about, how you say, when it's time for you to get up there to preach, you like, do you think I want to do this? Do you think that I'm really comfortable with doing this? Like, come on now. And people are so quick to, oh, I got a story to tell. I got a story to tell. Like, are you really ready? Right? Are you really ready to tell your story? Right? So wow. Yeah, this was good. There was something else though too that I wanted to just talk about quickly because we are coming to the end. Um it was I can't so it was so much that Pastor Lavelle. I mean, this was amazing. But I'm just gonna read the sentence with what you said. You said that
Okay.
I was healed. I was healed and whole and able to love and trust again. So the word that really stuck out to me was trust. Right. Because, I am in leadership class. And one of the questions that was asked of me for class this month was, if you were the devil, like how would you take yourself out? Right. And trusting was one, of the how I would take myself out, was trusting. Right. So your process with trusting, what does that look like, for you?
Well, that had a lot to do with the fact because of the issues that I had with my parents. I felt like if I couldn't trust my parents, who could I trust, right? So
Yeah.
at that point, I felt like I was, and then having the relationship with my daughter's father not go the way I wanted to go, I felt like I really couldn't trust anybody. I just was always like, you know, uh, okay, so I'll give you a good example would be when I met my husband and we began to date and falling in love and all that great stuff. And I said to him, you better not hurt me. Because even then, I was good with trusting by that point, but I was still a little leery. I was a little leery.
Mm-hmm.
If you hurt me, I'm going to kill you. I was already a Christian. I wasn't a minister. I was not a minister then. But, I was like, I'm going to kill you because I'm letting you in a space that I have had closed for some time now. And so because I was that looks like for me just allowing people the space to be who they are, but at the same time, I can't say that I let my guard down completely, but at the same time, it's just inching along for me, being able to trust. And he has never violated that trust, which is great. We've been married 22 years. And so that's a good thing. So being able to trust people in relationships, whether they was with my husband, my friendships with people, just being able to just, okay, I'm a good person. I'm a loyal person. I'm loyal to a fault,
Yeah.
whether it be as an employee, as a friend, as a sister, as a daughter. I'm loyal even to a fault. So I'm going to go the distance. And so if I retreat back, it's because obviously you gave me a reason to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Well,
Oh,
we are at the end. Didn't I tell you? I told you, Pastor Lavelle. I'm telling you. I'm like, as soon as we start to really talk and we get into the conversation, it's over before you know it, right? Um, so I just thank you again, Pastor Lavelle. I thank you for everything. Just thank you for being, there with me through the cries and the not believing in myself. And you like, girl, pick yourself up now. You come on now, get it together. Listen, she don't play no games, okay? She holds you all the way accountable, all right? And she gonna allow you to get your little stuff out, whatever you need to get out. But she like, all right, you done? Let's go. Get up. What are you doing? So I just appreciate you, so much. I love you and I thank you again for, being the we always say save the best for last, right? Being the last guest. So is there anything else before we go? Is there anything else that you would like to, would you like to, drop some gems, or whatever you want to say. We got a few minutes.
Okay. Before two thoughts. One is to thine own self be true.
Yes.
To thine own self be true. Don't let anyone define who you are. You define who you are. Don't let no one tell you who you should be, because God's already told you who you are. And to thine own self be true. And my last and final comment is I want everybody to drop a congratulations in the comments to Miss Nyesha Bridges for successfully completing 12 episodes of Unmasking the Covered Me.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Lavelle. I love you.
It's my honor to serve and to be a part of your life. I love to see God's hand on people's lives. The transformation process is always amazing, and I'm here for it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Look at everybody saying congratulations. I ain't crying, y'all. I ain't crying. No, I ain't crying. Oh, I'm crying. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much. I love you, Steve, Pastor Tammy, Zane, Gianna. I love all y'all. I really do. All right, Keisha. Keisha's on some congratulations, my little Oprah. Okay, I can't. I love it. But I thank y'all so much. I want everyone to have a happy and safe holiday. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We out here, y'all. We out here. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep it going. I am looking forward to season number 2. Come January, I got some good guests coming up for the next season, and I got a surprise for y'all too. But I'm gonna hold off. I wanted to, give it away a little bit, but I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it for the first week in January. So y'all be on the lookout. The first week in January, I'm gonna let y'all know what my surprise is. So again, I thank you, everybody. I love all of you. Like I said, continue to be safe and have a wonderful holiday. And I love you too, Pastor Lavelle. I love you so much. I love you. Thank you. Good night, y'all. Bye.